I'm actually kicking off with a series that I'm calling Worthy of Abundance. And why am I doing this series? I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story in a minute, but the reason that I'm doing this series is because abundance, however you define abundance, is the thing that gets in the way for most people. In fact, when you think about it, three quarters Three-quarters of people in North America live paycheck to paycheck. And yet we live in this universe, in this world that is so abundant. So why is it that only a very small percentage of people ever really tap into their abundance? And how I ended up doing this, I resisted this, trust me, I resisted this for a really long time. In 2019, a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine who I hadn't actually spoken to at that point for quite a long time, a number of years, reached out to me and she was like, "Hey, happy birthday. It's been a really long time since we spoke. And I was thinking of you and I wanted to give you a birthday gift. So I'm gifting you a session with this lady who's like, I don't know how to describe her. She's a medium. She talks to I don't know how to describe her. But anyway, she says to me, I'm gifting you this session with this lady. Her name is Sonia Choquette. She's not weird or anything, she says to me. She's even been on Oprah. So she's been on Oprah, and Oprah at that time, for those of you who know who Sherry Salata is, Sherry was I think she was the president or the CEO of Oprah's company of Harpo. Can't remember what her title was, but she is very good friends with this woman that this friend was gifting me a session with. This woman's name is Sonia Choquette. And so I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, this is very generous of you because a session with her is not cheap. So I have this session with her, and my friend actually beforehand says to me, I've been specific about the day that I booked the session. So she had bought this session for me to have the session with Sonia on the 11th of November in 2019. And the time that I was supposed to have this session was 11 a.m. So it was 11:11 at 11. So I have this session with Sonia. And I don't actually know how to describe her. I guess she's like a medium energy reader, spirit, something. But she says to me, so she comes on and she says, so I'm going to connect with your guides, with your spirit guides. I'm kind of like, okay, I don't see dead people, but okay. I'm going with the flow, right? Because my friend said this woman worked with Oprah. So I'm like, okay, let's go with this. So she proceeds to do this, I guess, a reading. It was like it was a conversation, but she was telling me things in this conversation. She's like, your spirit guides are telling me that you really need to step out of what you're doing and make it broader. At that time, for those of you who've been here a minute, you know that I was doing Ndini. So Ndini was the platform that I was doing, and it was really hyper-focused on Africa, African women, and really telling that story, which I still very passionate about. And she said to me that what I'm being told is that you need to expand your message, that your message is not just for Black women, it's not just for African women. Your message is for women, all women. And your message is to inspire women to step into their abundance, to step into their versions of an extraordinary life. And I'm kind of like, okay, this is cool. Then she says to me, and one of the things that you need to talk about is money, abundance. And really, and I said to her, like, I literally felt a visceral, like, that's not what I talk about, because I'm a girl who was brought up, you don't talk about money, you don't talk about all the things that you have, all of this kind of stuff. And she said, the reason you need to speak about it is because you need to help women to normalize being abundant, to help women normalize having money, to normalize big amounts of money in women's hands. And the reason you need to do it is because you've done it. I was like, but that's not really what I want to do. That's not what I want to talk about. the reason I shared this story, it wasn't actually what I was going to talk about to open this today. But I happened to, today, of all days, I was cleaning up. I'm cleaning out like apps and my phone and all of this kind of stuff. And I had this app that I was paying for that I haven't been using. And I thought, oh, let me look at it. And I realized the reason I'd kept that app was it was the app that I had used to record our conversation. And so I had not listened to that conversation since we'd had it in 2019. I think I listened to it like maybe one time right after, but I hadn't listened to it. And it was so fascinating to me that I would listen to it today when there have been so many things and so much, for lack of a better way to put it, guidance that has been given to me over the last year and a half that I have resisted. Like so many people who have said to me as I've been working with them, working to figure out what is worthy, what is it that I want to talk about, where do I want to take it? And so much has constantly led me to, you need to be talking about abundance. You need to be talking about how abundance is our birthright. You need to be talking about money and how it is that you, me, who is a girl who literally was born raised in a mud hut with no running water, no electricity, can sit here and say, I'm a self-made millionaire. You need to talk about that, because if you can do it, if I can do it, that means anybody can do it, because I'm just a regular girl who can't even figure out how to go live on Instagram. And so that is why I am creating this series. That is why I'm creating the Worthy of Abundance series, because I really want to talk about the things that so many of us were never taught. It's still mind-boggling to me that, kids go to school and there isn't a class where they learn about money. And I want to be clear about one thing. There's the mechanics of money, right? There's you put your money in a savings account and you save, and then that makes interest, or you invest in stocks. That's one part of it. But there's a step before that so many of us have never been taught. And that step before is the fact that money comes from how you think and how you feel about it. It comes from how you think and how you feel about it. And so many of us have never been taught that. We've been taught that money comes from hard work, that you've got to hustle, that money only happens for certain people who are special, or you have to have been born with money. And so much of the work that I have been doing on myself, the work that I've been doing in terms of becoming a coach, and then now I coach in different communities. In one of the communities I coach in, there are like 1,000 people that are in that program. And so much, the biggest struggle, if I had to boil it down to what is the biggest struggle that most people have, it is with money. It is because they do not feel that they're worthy to have the money that they want to have. They're worthy to have the life that they want to have. And these are all tools that so many of us have never been given. I certainly wasn't. I never had money lessons growing up. I didn't know any of this stuff. And yes, there's some people who will say, law of attraction and all of that kind of stuff is a bunch of nonsense and a bunch of woo-woo. But I can tell you that the reason I can sit here today and have this conversation with you is I am living proof that how you think and how you feel attracts to you. One of the most powerful things that I've been told, a powerful saying, is the fact that you don't get what you want in life. You get what you expect. You don't get what you want in life. You get what you expect. And so many of us have been trained to expect very little. We expect very little in terms of, we think that if I could just have a little bit more, if I could just have a little bit better, if I could just, we really have such low expectations of what is possible for us. And if you're someone who's Christian, I was raised in the church, my parents at one point were pastors. And if you look at what the Bible says, the Bible talks about the power of your thoughts. Be careful how you think. Your life is created by your thoughts. And so what are the thoughts that you're thinking when it comes to abundance? What does abundance even mean to you? What does it look like? Like so many of us don't even know that part of it, is defining what does abundance mean for us. And so that's what I'm going to be covering in this series that we're kicking off, is all of the things related to abundance, all of the things about how do we align our beliefs. How do we start to create beliefs that'll create abundance in our lives? What is abundance? What would that look like? How do you create abundance for yourself in your life? And so I'm really so excited to kick off this series, so excited for the conversations. I'm excited for you to participate. I would love for you to DM me the questions that you have, things that you want me to cover in this series called Worthy of Abundance. And why did I call it Worthy of Abundance? Because inherently, you are worthy. If you have air in your lungs, if you're listening to this, you are worthy to have, to do, to be whatever it is your heart desires. And all too often, what gets in the way of us having and being and doing all of the things that we desire are the beliefs that we hold. The beliefs that we hold about what is possible for us. And so those are some of the things that we're going to be unpacking over these next weeks, is how do you uncover what the beliefs are that you hold about money? How are those beliefs holding you back? How is it that you can start to change your beliefs? How is it that you can start to create the life that you dream of? Because we all are absolutely worthy of living an extraordinary life. So I'm so excited to bring this series to life. I want to keep these short because I know everybody has stuff to do. So I want to keep these short, but I'm super excited. And as I said, I really want this to be a two-way dialogue, for me to share with you all of the things that I'm learning. I continue to learn. I truly believe that learning about abundance is not a one and done, that there never will come a point where you've learned enough. You know, if I'm going to quote Diddy here, at every level of your abundance, there are new things, new challenges, new issues that you'll come up against. And as Diddy said, more money, more problems. So right now, when you're thinking, oh, I wish I could just have $100,000, $100,000, yes, is great to have, but are you the person who can hold $100,000 and the things that come with having 100,000, a million, 10 million, 100 million, a billion, if that's your dream? And so those are some of the conversations that we want to have, that we will be having. And I'd love for you to tell me the questions that you have, or the things that you have learned when it comes to stepping into your abundance, the abundance that you are worthy of. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for helping me kick off this series that I am so excited to continue, this conversation that I'm so excited to continue. And I look forward to joining you every week for Worthy of Abundance conversations. And as I always say, you are worthy. You are worthy to be, to do, to have whatever your heart desires. Have a great rest of the week. Mwah.